I always reiterate to my team is making sure that you understand how your customer defines value, because how we may define value as the service provider may not necessarily be what your customer really needs from you at that point in time.
Customer experience wisdom, a dash of travel talk. We've been cleared for takeoff.
The best meals are served outside and require a passport.
Welcome back, everyone, to a new episode of CX Passport. Joining us today is Rachel Sheriff, Chief Customer Officer at Recurly, the sponsor for today's episode. Rachel has driven impactful change across global customer success, professional services, renewals teams. Her expertise lies in building those partnerships that enhance adoption, growth, and realized value throughout the customer lifecycle. All right, that was a lot of words, so many words there, but I want you to stop down on a few themes. Note the multiple roles. This isn't just pure play CX experience, and that's intriguing to me. Also, I want you to note the adoption and growth leading to value. Value sounds pretty good, right? With experience spanning companies like Bazaar Voice, Logic Monitor, and Accruent, Rachel consistently delivers those results, that value, by aligning customer needs with business goals. Once again, there it is, another favorite phrase of mine, business goals. Now at Recurly, Rachel continues to ensure meaningful outcomes for clients. Now, y'all, if you hear a twinge of jealousy in my voice, it's because Rachel is coming to us from the Austin, Texas area. Longtime CX Passport travelers will know that's where I grew up, and it's where my heart remains. Rachel, welcome to CX Passport.
Rick, thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be here. I appreciate the warm welcome. And yes, Austin is a pretty incredible place to live. I wish I could say I was from Austin. You are a unicorn. You don't meet too many people who are born and bred in Austin, but I call it home. I've been here for about 16 years. And in that journey, been really focused on customer experience and growing my career into being this three-headed monster of support, PS, CS. So yeah.
Well, three-headed monster or three-headed, delight. We'll find our own, animal that we've got there. And yes, I could make an entire episode with you about Austin. What were we talking about before we even hit record here? Anderson Coffee and talking about coffee unique roasters, but we won't go there. I do want to start off with kind of what you were starting to describe there. I'd like, Recurly is probably not a brand that all of our listeners know. Tell me a little bit about Recurly and your role there.
Sure. So Recurly is a subscription management and billing platform, and we help our customers or merchants really grow and optimize their recurring revenue. So think about content providers, software companies like Recurly, anyone that has a subscription model, with their customers, and really look to grow that customer base, repeat that business. That's what we help our customers do.
Nice. And your role there, so I certainly see that. And I actually want to get into that, the subscription and supporting the subscription-based companies. There's something very interesting there. You specifically there, you mentioned the three-headed monster, those three roles. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yes. So I am Chief Customer Officer, and I really oversee the customer experience after they have purchased a contract with Recurly. So onboarding, technical support, customer success, all of those roles that really help our customers get implemented onto our software and then understand and be able to articulate the value. You said value is one of my favorite words as well.
Yes.
That they get from our partnership.
Okay, good. And I know we're going to explore that a little bit more as we just have this conversation today. I want to talk about that interesting background, right? Because I mentioned it in the intro. You and I had talked about it before, but you came up with agency experience, moving then into customer success experience, and now this chief customer officer role that are Recurly. You've got that full suite of CX that you're describing. I'm curious how that experience, that variety of experience that you had in the past allows you to data segment and blend those various functions at Recurly.
Sure. So yes, I did my time on Madison Avenue, actually in New York.
Did my time.
Yeah, so I spent 11 years in the ad agency business. And I do believe it really set me up for success as someone focused on customer experience. And the reason why is in my role while I was at these agencies, I was an account supervisor. So making sure that our accounts were getting the services they needed, and that those services were aligned to their business strategy. And when I talk about services, oftentimes we were collaborating and partnering with other types of agencies to help provide, whether it was digital content, online ad spending, strategy. I was the one making sure that all of those different partners were delivering on what they said that they would do and what they were expected to do, and that the deliverables were all aligned to the customer strategy, which I worked really closely with our customers at the beginning of each year.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was making, it was almost like puppeteering, if you will, these different groups. And what's interesting in software customer success and software customer experience is I am dealing with various groups within our business. We're under one umbrella, but in any software company, we've got product, we've got engineering, we've got sales, we have our finance teams, and all of those different teams in some way or another interacting with the customer and delivering on our value, on our platform, on our services. And we are really shepherds of making sure that they get a really great experience and that they want to continue that partnership. And so I was able to take what I learned in that agency model and bring it into software and apply having those different hats, having to work with various different teams who do very different things to deliver on a singular great experience.
One, I love that, right? And I can see why that experience brings that in. The shepherds, that part it hit my ears in a way that I wasn't expecting. And this idea, you said that all of these roles have, a customer responsibility, or, and forgive me, I forget the exact words, but they're not all necessarily customer facing, or may not feel that they are customer facing. In that position of having to shepherd some of this awareness of their impact on the customer, have you found that, or let me ask it differently, how have you been able to help all of those disparate groups understand their role to play and how they impact the customer, even if they might not perceive themselves as directly customer facing?
I think it's those three magical words, that it's voice of customer, and making sure that they understand that when the customers have a great experience, they are very willing to share their feedback, even when they've had a bad experience too. Let's not forget that. But that feedback is really, really valuable in helping these other organizations within our company deliver a better product, or to deliver a better service, or to understand more what our industry or what our customers need from our product. And so, I believe that customer success, and you see this, quite often from other thought leaders, that customer success is a company responsibility, and it's a company mantra. And the journey doesn't start and begin post-sale with the customer experience organization. It actually starts the minute a customer interacts with our brand. Everything from, coming into a site, to talking to an inside salesperson, to getting a bill from our invoicing team, like that all is part of a customer experience and part of that journey. And we're all accountable to it.
This is your captain speaking. I want to thank you for listening to CX Passport today. We've now reached our cruising altitude, so I'll turn that seatbelt sign off. While you're getting comfortable, hit that follow or subscribe button on your favorite podcast app so you'll never miss an episode. Love it if you'd tell a friend about CX Passport, leave a review so others can discover the show as well. Now, sit back and enjoy the rest of the episode.
Feel like I could stop the episode now, except there's too many things that I want to still ask you. But you're right, that idea of, and to those of us that live and breathe this world, we know that. But for those that don't necessarily have that label of customer on their title or whatever their function is, that the experience starts when they're even just pondering, what is my need, before even interacting with a brand, and how you guide them and, well, shepherd them through that. There's something about Recurly, when I was first getting introduced to you and to your brand, that I had this meta vibe around it, that you are a subscription-based company, right? The period, end of sentence. Recurly is a subscription-based company that provides a service to subscriber-based companies. So how does what you do, your role, help those merchants that you're describing, help create their experiences for their customers in this very meta sort of way?
It is very meta. And I think it actually helps me build a close relationship with our customers because I'm trying to do the same thing that they're trying to do, which is prevent churn, grow our customers, provide a great experience, develop advocacy within our customer base. And when I speak to my customers, I'm often telling them, you and I have the same goals, and the same objectives. And let me tell you a little bit about what we try to do as a subscription-based model company to prevent these, churn from happening, to understanding what our customers are looking for, to growing those customers, cross-sell, upsell. All of those things are actually, shared goals between ourselves and our customers. Now, B2B is a little bit different than,
Sure.
B2C. But I think at the end of the day, when you talk about churn, when you talk about having to get more creative in acquiring customers, we're all speaking the same language. And so it's actually been very helpful for me in my role in getting up to speed with what are the things that our customers and our merchants care about most. Whereas in other industries that I've worked in, I haven't walked in their shoes, and I've had to really learn and ramp up into that customer base, goals and objectives. Where here it's shared. I really feel like it helps me a lot in this role as being chief customer officer.
Yeah. Have you had that experience with one of your merchants? And I'm using the right term. Merchants, is that?
So merchants is what we call our customers who are more kind of on the B2C side.
Oh, okay. Got it.
B2B, because we have a lot of other software companies that are customers of ours as well. And so
Okay.
we tend to call, our customers on the B2C side are merchant customers.
Okay, so we've got merchants, we've got that on the B2C side, then we've got the software side. Regardless, though, right? These are these categories that you're describing of. Well, you certainly feel like you're living the same experience that they are. Have you ever had to kind of almost convince your customer, or is it the other way around, that your merchants, your customers, that they are instead saying, no, I get it. And because you live my world, here is the feedback, the voice of the customer. I guess really what I'm asking, Rachel, is do you find it harder because you live in that world, or easier to understand and get that voice of the customer from your?
I think I find it easier because, I was actually recently in London, and I was in a roundtable with folks that weren't customers of ours. It was leaders who are responsible for customer experience, for retention, and I believe it actually creates a level of trust. And when I'm providing recommendations to others in similar roles, it feels very genuine because I want to listen to what they're doing. I feel like there's a reciprocity, like learn from us and I'd like to learn from you.
Right.
And what you're doing to combat these challenges that I have, in my own business. So I think it's created a level playing field and trust that we truly are making recommendations that we believe are going to help serve your business.
What about the reverse? And I'm sitting here thinking about that.
Like I know what tricks you're working on me.
Well, yes. And the idea of you're suggesting to them, hey, because I live and breathe your world, I know what you, merchant, and other customer suites, what you could be doing better. Are there times that your merchants, your customers say to you, hey, guess what? Because we live in the same world. Hey, Recurly, you could be doing this better. Do you get sort of that back and forth sort of feedback?
I love that. Yeah. I mean, I'm a big believer in, look, tell it to me straight, because we can only get better. No service provider is perfect, right? Especially when we work with so many different diverse industries. There are going to be areas that we can really understand that industry better than we do today. And so I'm always a big believer in, and I spend a lot of time reaching out to our customers and asking for that really clear and that really transparent feedback. I think it's really important. And I think that those conversations, while they can be really hard, they're the ones that I believe help us the most. Than the ones that are just raving about how, this is so perfect. I'm always very thankful for that. But I think where we can make the most improvements is when I hear the hard stuff.
The gold is found there in the complaints.
Yes.
Absolutely. Although as much as we, CX professionals that we are, say that it is nice to hear that things are going well also. So while the complaints may be the gold, the praise is the I don't know, the spa visit. My analogies are completely falling apart here, but
No, I like
forgive
it.
me for that.
We're tracking.
I think I'm due for a spa visit. So maybe it's top of mind right now. So it's something
Holiday
I need to.
season. Maybe put
That's right. Hey, Santa, here's what's on my list. Yeah, you and I had talked earlier, right? And we had you had shared this philosophy with me that surprised me. And it said that you, and not theoretically, but you were willing to take a hit on cost of goods sold in order to deliver business results. That is very countercultural, especially right now. It seems like contact and customer areas are the absolute first to get cut. How did you get to that view on cost of goods sold?
Well, I think, in this market, especially, yes, all companies are really trying to get efficient with their dollars. But I think what I've seen and what I've also seen just again from other thought leaders and from just the industry as a whole is it is a lot harder right now to acquire a new customer. You really have to get very creative with your offers. And make those cost acquisition dollars really work hard. Whereas when you have a really healthy current customer base, you want to do everything you can to make sure that customer base is not only thriving but growing. And so to do that, you have to ensure that you're delivering an exceptional experience. Now, I'm also within reason, and I know that there's a reason why, gross margin is a very important metric for most businesses. But I believe that depending on where your business is and how healthy your customer base is, there's an argument to be made that let's really double down on what we have from a recurring revenue. What's predictable is the revenue that we have in house, and let's ensure that revenue continues. And then also selling to a current customer, as is a lot less expensive than acquiring a completely new logo. There's also some creative things to do as well. So, I've been managing customer success and technical and account management teams for quite a while, and I've always really oriented those teams to revenue. We are all in the business of sales is a phrase that a lot of my team members know is going to come out of my mouth at some point, and I do believe that customer success managers and TAMs can really partner closely with our sales org and find leads and create new revenue streams within the customer base. And so there's ways that you can, and I've seen, allocate some of those traditionally COGS expenses to cost of acquisition, to cost of sales. Now, that's all kind of back of the napkin work, but that, different organizations have more of a tolerance for. But I do, I think that aligning the right teams to revenue is really important, but also making sure that you're not skimping on your customer experience, especially in an environment where net new logos and new bookings is getting harder and harder to get. So that's the long and the short of it.
Rachel, I may come back to that value. I really did like that sentence. I want to come back to that, but we need to take a little break here. We need to enjoy some of the finer things in life. And so I'd like for you to join me here in the First Class Lounge. We'll move quickly here and have a little bit of fun. What is a dream travel location from your past?
Mykonos, Greece. Now, you have to go before the high season because then you're going to feel like you're in a nightclub. But Mykonos, Greece, there is a lovely little bar, I believe it's still around, called Caprice. It's in Little Venice, which is a small area, small little town in Mykonos. And there's a seawall, and you can go out to the seawall, look out into the sunset, have a cocktail with the water lapping on your feet. And it's a dream.
Oh my gosh. Now, Rachel, I'm going to be really tempted to delete this from the episode because I don't want anybody to know what you just said, so that when I go to Greece, I can go there and it not be like a nightclub, because absolutely that pre or post season definitely is key given what I've seen from some of the pictures. But that's what a great great little tip there. I really am going to be able to use that. So that's for me looking forward. What about you? A dream travel location you've not been to yet?
So I have recently developed an obsession with at some point going to Japan. I'm going to Japan to ski with my family. We're a family of skiers. We really enjoy
Nice.
skiing. You know, we go out west. I used to ski on the East Coast when I lived out there, and I've had a lot of friends that have gone to Japan, and that's a dream to be able to go there and.
Oh, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Longtime CX Passport listeners are going to know what I'm about to say, but we had the opportunity as a family to be in Japan in that winter season for about a week and a half, but my son was studying abroad there. And he had the chance to go up. It was in the Sapporo region. I don't know if it was exactly Sapporo, but there's an ice sculpture festival taking place. So when you go there and go ski, make sure that you take time, because some of the things that he showed were spectacular, like the size of houses type sculptures that he saw. So it is, what a dream, what a brilliant dream location. And I hope that happens for you very, very soon.
Thank you.
One of the things we loved about Japan was the food. In general, for you, what is a favorite thing of yours to eat?
So I'm from Louisiana, and I love Louisiana food. So anything from crawfish etouffee to jambalaya, gumbo. And unfortunately, I don't know how to cook it very well. But there's like you got to have a knack.
Yeah, there is.
Spice level. A roux is really difficult to perfect. So I usually only get that home cooking whenever I'm with my mom, or I make a trip down to Louisiana. I'm very weary of Louisiana Cajun food restaurants in any place other than Louisiana. So I try to save it for when I go home.
You know, there is a huge difference, and I didn't know or appreciate it. My wife and I just went to New Orleans about a month ago, and what we experienced there was ungodly as compared.
Yes.
The most obvious sentence, of course, to say, but as compared to what we're experiencing outside of there, even with a huge Louisiana expat population like yourself, still hasn't created the same level of restauranting that you can get when you're inside the state and the city.
Magical about being in the state lines, and
there's something.
Gumbo.
There's a magic. There's something in the vibes there for sure. Well, you mentioned your mom. What about growing up? Was there something growing up that you were forced to eat but you hated as a kid?
So anyone who knows me knows that I have this really weird quirk, and that I can't stand any type of white condiment. So mayonnaise, butter, sour cream cheese.
Okay.
Dressing, like
wow.
Normal people like.
Yeah.
I have to this day, as an adult woman, I have a real aversion to.
That's awesome.
It would drive my parents bananas, because what do you cook that doesn't have butter in it, right?
Well, I'm sitting here going, I'm with you on mayonnaise. Not a big mayonnaise fan, but butter? I can't live without butter. Wow.
So mayonnaise, the devil's condiment. It's just
I'm with you there. Well, I won't offer you any mayonnaise or any white condiment here in the First Class Lounge, but we are unfortunately going to have to exit the First Class Lounge. So I am curious. You mentioned London. I'm sure you've done quite a bit of travel. What is one travel item, not including your phone, not including your passport, that you will not leave home without?
So do earbuds count? Can I say earbuds?
You absolutely can.
I'm such a consumer of content, whether it is books on, I still call them books on tape. How old books on tape, or podcasts, or watching shows. I just really enjoy just sometimes going back to my hotel room, of course, on the plane, but just being able to escape from day-to-day business life in either a really interesting podcast or a really interesting book or a show. And yes, that's my buffer from the real world. So probably my earbuds, and then second close, maybe this should be my first close, is a toothbrush.
Okay.
A toothbrush, right? Like everybody needs to have one of those, but no, my earbuds, for sure.
Rachel, I'm with you on both of those. The earbuds or some sort of blocking out the noise, and absolutely the toothbrush. Oh boy, you don't bring that. Good gravy. I want to go back to that value thing that you were talking about. That is an area that we have talked about a lot in the world of customer experience over the last, really over now extending almost into 2 years, because so much of customer experience had not focused on tying it to business value. Since that's a phrase that your team knows that you utter, that it's such a key part of it, What are some wisdom? What are some tips that you can share, insights around effectively tying some of the things that you're describing in the world of customer to that tangible business value?
Right. So I talk about value all of the time, and it has become a little, it's a little bit of a buzzword, and it's an
Sure.
easy word to latch on to what you're focused on and then leave it behind without actually delivering said value. And so, one of the first things that I always reiterate to my team is making sure that you understand how your customer defines value, because how we may define value as the service provider, as a software vendor, may not necessarily be what your customer really needs from you at that point in time. Right. So making sure that somewhere you are understanding, clarifying, and documenting what exactly is it that your customer needs your software or your services to do for them to say, yes, I've received value from your services. And then aligning the rest of your programs and the rest of those touch bases to checking in and saying, this is what we agreed to at the beginning of the contract or the year or whatever that moment is. And how are we doing? And having almost like a mutual scorecard, because again, I think sometimes we can become very one-sided, and value means delivering X dollars in ROI. Well, that's not necessarily, depending on who you're talking to in your customer organization, what their performance is tied to. And so really making sure you understand that. The second thing that I always try to make sure that we're able to do is for our value to be able to be delivered somewhat in a self-help way. And when you and I talked about, this earlier, I talked about how ease of doing business is almost becoming more important than having these moments of wow and surprise and delight.
Right.
And ease can mean for a customer, making it really easy for a customer to understand the value they're getting from your partnership or your software, whether that's through insights, like making it very easy for customers to glean insights from your tool, from being able to demonstrate that ROI very easily, or for just the way that you interact with your customer, that you're not having to like constantly convince as a CSM, as a CX professional, that it's not a human-led effort all of the time.
Right.
Because not everybody has time to have those deep conversations or those EBRs. And so I do think, one really important aspect of value is that it's very easy to understand it and get it as a customer.
That and what I like, you have a little bit of a twist there on the value aspect of it, and it's almost going back to that outside in view of value, that a lot of us have started to go inside out with our assumptions of value and around ROI, and there's still a requirement, right? If the business is not profitable, well, then it doesn't matter, right? The business no longer exists.
Yeah.
But I like that outside approach of what is the customer value, and therefore that's where value is created. And then this idea of going upstream of the surprise and delight movement. I imagine that you've found times that has put you at perhaps at opposition to folks that it wanted to really know, how can we really delight the customer? Whereas opposed to, actually, if we can just be consistently good, we've got them locked in. How have you had those kind of conversations where I'd rather invest my efforts in being consistently good than wowing the few?
Well, I just think about my own experience in working with vendors as a customer, right? Like I have a lot of vendors that I work with who service my business. And I think about at the end of the day, like, what would I want as a customer? And, what is work for me? Right. And I don't want to do a whole lot of work to get what I need out of your services. And so I often just put myself in, I ask this of everyone, like, put yourself in your customer's shoes and think about what is the experience that you would want.
Yeah.
And I think occasionally those surprise and delight is really important. And so it's not something that you just shove to the side. But I think sometimes that surprise and delight might be how you're interpreting what surprise and delight is, and it can be actually extra work for the customer. So, an example is, I'm really busy. I have 3 kids at home. I travel a lot for my job. It is really hard for me during the week to go have a fancy dinner in downtown Austin late at night. And so while that might feel like a really special thing to do for me, it's actually work for me to have to go and do that. So think about other ways outside of
Yeah.
that, for a busy professional to deliver, a really great experience is what I'm always, talking to my teams about, thinking
But
outside of the box to do.
that is so true. And I think back to the difference. I'm now solidly in my 50s. And I think back to when I was in my 20s in my career. And I'm like, yeah, I'll do all those corporate dinners. Heck yeah. And now, like, the last thing I want to do is go out to a happy hour or a dinner if I don't have to. And so I can, and that's exactly it. You even said it without saying it, is the surprise and delight is understanding what would be surprise and delight to, yeah, heck, for you. And I sort of being somewhat facetious, but surprise and delight might be, hey, have somebody pick my kids up for a week. That'd be awesome.
Or send me some really, like, I have one vendor who, one of the things I love about what they do is they very seldom are asking me for my time. They send me amazing thought leadership because they have purview of a lot of different businesses in the industry and actually outside of the industry. And they send this incredible content that I don't have to put my email address in to get, or I don't have to commit to X, Y, and Z. They just are very thoughtful about, here's something that's going to help educate Rachel as, in her role. And I read that content and I appreciate that content. And generally when, my account manager calls or my CSM calls, I'm willing to take the call because they've actually provided me with great value. And I'm surprised and delighted that I get these white papers for free without having to do anything.
That's
right.
awesome.
And so I just think that that's just an example of something that I've been really impressed with.
And understanding who you are, what you need, what you want, and delivering on that. And that's, I'm looking at the clock. I realize we're out of time, but there's something you had said earlier in the episode that maybe we can close out with this, because it is that tension between new customer and cementing loyalty in existing customer, right? You just described how someone is helping to cement loyalty with you as an existing customer. Yet in a lot of companies, it's that new customer that is the more interesting, the more exciting, the more discussed part of the business. How many new customers have we brought as opposed to what is our retention? What is it? Why do you think that customers focus on that new versus securing that value from their existing customer base?
I think that they're, an important metric in the marketplace today is new logo acquisition. And there is something very sexy about, acquiring a global brand, a well-known brand that you may not have had in your customer base before. And so I don't want to, you don't want to take away from that. But I found, even within my own company and talking to others, that I do think it's shifting a bit. I think that I'm seeing a lot more focus and rigor on expansion and, making sure that you have additional things to, sell, frankly, to your customers, and additional value that they can get out of ancillary products or services. And so I do think that there is a bit of a mindset shift with really making sure that you've got the right resources, sellers, CSMs, et cetera, focused in on current customers. I'm seeing the account manager role come up more and more as an important role. It used to be that you just had kind of your AEs who had to focus on everything, hunter and farmer, and you had your CSMs. But I'm seeing that the account manager role, which is a commercially oriented role, but with existing business, pop up more and more in kind of my network and other companies that I engage with. So I do think that there's becoming a mindset shift.
Yeah. I like that you're calling it out as a mindset shift, because, and I realize what you're describing is a little more in that B2B, like account manager sort of space, but I'm even feeling it as a consumer in some industries where you wouldn't necessarily feel it, that sometimes when you're signed up and you're in, they're like, yeah, I don't care about you anymore. And we'll give all the new deals to the new and try to source the new. And so there may be that mindset shift. I'm going to be paying more attention to that because I've started to feel it in what you're describing. And certainly now what you're amplifying is something that hopefully is a movement that is taking place, because let's be honest, the customer's there. If you can expand them and you've got them, it's probably, like you said, it's a lot cheaper to maintain and grow than it is to secure the new.
So one quick trend before we end that I think would be interesting for those who are not in B2B, that more of the B2C realm that we're seeing is partnerships. So different businesses who offer complementary services coming in and bundling their two offerings to the current customer base as a way to sell in and to get really creative with that current customer base. And I'm seeing it more and more from our customers. I'm seeing it in the industry. And I think it'll be interesting to see if B2B follows suit. But what could have been traditionally competitors, right, are coming together under this mindset shift of, hey, we need to get creative and offer something really of value to our current customers to keep them on board with us.
We're going to end right there. That's fantastic. Rachel, I like that idea. And now you're going to have me keeping an eye out for that. Who knows? Maybe we'll talk again in the future and we'll see how that prediction went. Rachel, if folks want to get to know a little bit more about you, your experience, your approach to customer experience, and a little bit more about Recurly and the services that Recurly offers, what's the best way for folks to get to learn more?
Well, obviously, find me on LinkedIn. If anything I've said is interesting, I love, learning and sharing with others. But obviously, come to our website, read some of our content. We have a ton of thought leadership, white papers, videos on our site that are free, just like the vendor that I told you about, that you can learn a lot about what we do and some of the successes we've had with our merchants and our customers.
That's awesome. I will get all of that in the show notes, LinkedIn, the website, all of that will be there. Folks, you don't even have to leave this episode. Just click the link. It'll open up your browser for you, and off you go. You get to learn more about Rachel and learn more about Recurly. Rachel, I did enjoy this conversation, even though my jealousy is off the charts with you being in Austin. I've learned a lot today, and that's what I really like, is getting the chance to learn a little bit more about that subscription base, the cementing the loyalty, the B2B, that aspect of it. And what I really like is you sharing these, hey, we're keep an eye on this. We're seeing a mindset shift, and we're seeing that shift towards partnership as well. Rachel, it was an absolute delight. Rachel, thank you for being on CX Passport.
Thank you. I had a lot of fun.
Thanks for joining us this week on CX Passport. If you like today's episode, I have 3 quick next steps for you. Click subscribe on the CX Passport YouTube channel or your favorite podcast app. Next, leave a comment below the video or a review in your favorite podcast app so others can find and enjoy CX Passport too. Then head over to cxpassport.com for show notes and resources that can help you create tangible business results by delivering great customer experience. Until next time, I'm Rick Denton, and I believe the best meals are served outside and require a passport.